Good morning. Welcome to the worship of God on this second Sunday of Advent here at Danville Congregational Church. We are an open and affirming congregation of the United Church of Christ. We're a people of extravagant welcome. No matter what you look like, talk like, move like, sing like, dance like, dress like, vote like, or love like, you are welcome here, and we are glad you're here with us today. We begin this morning by acknowledging the land that is beneath our feet, the land this house of worship rests upon. It is the traditional land of the Ohlone people who have a presence here today in Danville and throughout the Bay Area. And we recognize and honor them this morning in our worship. If you're new to our community, we are glad you have chosen to worship with us, whether you're here in our pews or if you're joining us online this morning. Welcome. We hope we have an opportunity to greet you today after the worship service. And whether you're new or you feel new or you've been with us your entire life, we want to know that you're here this morning. And so if you would sign in to the blue pew book at the end of each pew and then pass it down to your neighbors so that they have an opportunity to sign in too, we would be grateful to know of your presence here today. After worship, everyone is invited to join us next door in Koinonia Hall for a time of coffee, conversation, and community. And we hope we're able to all gather there after worship. And if you're joining us online, you're invited to hang out in the Zoom room and have some time with one another after the worship service. Later, we'll have an opportunity to lift up our joys and concerns. If you have a joy or concern this morning on your heart or mind, you're invited to write that on a prayer card. Prayer cards are located in each pew, and then later in the service, an usher will come by to collect those. And if you're joining us online this morning, you're invited to type your joy or concern in the chat feature, and Joy will lift up your prayer during that time. I almost wanted to say Joy will lift up your joy and concern, but that just felt a little repetitive, Joy. We have a few announcements this morning. The first is that we have some Advent devotionals that are companioning us throughout this season of Advent and this worship theme of from generation to generation that we are exploring this season. And so if you'd like one of those devotionals, they're available in the narthex, and you can pick one up right after worship. I'm going to invite Kim Michaud to come up to talk to us a little bit about next week's party. I hear there's a party. And we're going to do the red mic, Jim.
Yes, we are having a Christmas party right after church next Sunday. The Community Life Commission will be providing a chili lunch. We'll have several different varieties, plus spoon bread and salads. You are invited to bring cookies if you'd like for a cookie exchange. We'll also have some fun little activities and some Christmas music, and just most importantly, a time to be together to celebrate this special time of year. So you are all invited. We hope to see you. If you'd like, you can sign up with me after church, just so we have an idea of how many people will be here. And we will be setting up next Saturday at 11 a.m. if anyone wants to come to help with that too. Thank you.
I invite Pastor Todd to come up to talk to us a little bit about the pageant.
We're on. There we go. Good morning, everyone. So it is almost that time of year when we have our Christmas pageant. We haven't had one since 2019, and we're really looking forward to experiencing that with the aid of our children. And so we are having rehearsal today after worship and next week after worship before the party. And hopefully we won't need one the Saturday before. It's plug and play. So while we are rehearsing, if there are family members that come with you that want to be in it, there will be a box of costumes for them to put on, and they can join wherever they are. And to the rest of you, we need shepherds and prophets and townspeople. So if you are looking for your opportunity to not only support our children, but also be in a pageant at Christmas, this is your chance. So hang around after worship and we will make sure that you have a part. And one other quick announcement for those of our families with children, we have an Advent box. So if you did not get one of these in years past, will you see me after worship? We have a an Advent box to send home with you.
The deadline's coming up to sign up for an Advent flower donation. If you would like to donate an Advent flower this Advent and Christmas season, you're invited to fill out the form that's in your bulletin, and you can pay by check or online, and to have that completed and turned in by December 11th, which is coming very soon. Friends, those are all the announcements that I have for you this morning. I invite us now to center our hearts and minds in this space, whether you're here in the sanctuary or if you're joining us from somewhere at home. And let us give thanks to God for this morning. Let us join together in worship.
Over 100 from the ages of over 100 years old were asked the question, "What are you afraid of?" From the voices of different generations, hear their answers. Not being enough,
Not making enough of a difference.
falling down,
That we will forget we belong to one another.
My child having to learn gun violence drills at school.
spiders,
Not having someone to take care of me, not having someone who knows my stories.
mental health being
Ending up alone.
nightmares,
Stopping short of following God all the way.
sweetie.
Today, we light the candle of peace because we so desperately need God's peace in the midst of all fear.
May this light be a reminder that Christ is coming. God was with generations before. God is with us today. And God will be with us tomorrow. Even now, God is on the way. Amen.
With you. Let us greet one another and pass the peace.
guess I'll get some water.
You may be seated. Fear can be a good thing. It can help us to be attentive while driving down the highway. It can alert us to possible accidents. It can motivate us to do our best. However, fear can also be harmful. For many of us, fear of the other, fear of failure, or fear of the unknown has led us to make sinful choices in our lives. Choices such as building walls or tearing others down. Today in confession, we ask for mercy and forgiveness. As we confess, we come before an entirely merciful and loving God who says to us, "Do not be afraid." Let us pray together. Patient God, you know just how often we make decisions from a place of fear rather than love. You know just how often we allow fear to take the place of logic, fanning unhealthy fires in our lives. You know just how often we tuck your words, "Do not be afraid," on dusty shelves and in the back of closets, stubbornly holding on to our own point of view. Forgive us for giving fear the microphone. Silence the voices of scarcity, shame, and rejection, which spark and feed so much of our fear. To recenter us in love. With hope we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
Family of faith, even when we forget God's words, God does not forget us. Even when we lose our way, God does not lose us. Even when we fall short or make mistakes, God forgives and holds on to us. We are known, we are forgiven, and we are loved. Thanks be to God. Amen.
Okay, we'd like to invite our young friends to come hang out with Pastor T and my friend Marty. Come on up. Come down here. All right. Good morning, y'all. Ooh, I think y'all are sleepy. Good morning, y'all. Good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. How is everybody? So, who remembers my friend Marty? We haven't seen Marty in a while. You remember? Raise your hand if you remember Marty. Does anyone remember Marty's pronouns? Jasmine? They, them. Marty uses they, them pronouns. And what does Marty have in Marty's mouth? What is that? Does anybody know what this is? The arrow for what? That circle of the church year. I wonder how many of our grown-up friends find this helpful to them in knowing what season we're in. Who would like to help show us with the arrow where we are today. Anybody want to take the arrow and put it on? Anyone? Max? Okay, so let's see. I'm going to turn it around and turn it around and turn it around. Where are we? Let's see. Where are we, Max? Right there. How did you know that?
Last week was the first day.
The first day. What season are we in right now? Advent. Can we all say that together? Advent. Advent. And we have how many Sundays of Advent? 1, 2, 3, 4. And then what is this? Christmas. So we lit some candles today on our Advent wreath. Who remembers what the first candle means? It's from last week. Joy's one of them. Starts with an H. Hope. Can we say that together? Hope. And today we lit the candle of, no, Joy's next week. Starts with a P. Peace. Can we say that together? Peace. Peace. Today we lit the candle of peace. Now next week, we heard 2 people say joy. Next week, we're going to light the candle of joy. And look what color the candle of joy is. Do you see that? It's pink. So between now and then, I want you to go home and talk to your family, or maybe do a little Google and find out. And next week, we'll talk about why is next week's candle pink. So Marty wants to know why we have presents up here today. No, they're not for you. Does anyone know why we have presents up here today? Jasmine, do you know? Anybody know? Are they for Pastor Eric and me? No, they're not for Pastor Eric and me. Do you know what who these are presents for? These are presents for friends in our community who live around us, whose families are having kind of a hard time, and who may not be able to have many things for Christmas. How about that? And members of our church family, some of them are here today, they took the list and found out what those children wanted for Christmas, and they went and bought them for them. How about that? And so these presents are going to go to people like you, your age, and when they wake up on Christmas morning, they're going to have some of these things as their presents. Isn't that awesome? So I wondered if we together with our church family might find a way to put some extra love and energy and joy in these gifts. So I wonder if you would be willing to close your eyes and let's do a little imagining. And you don't have to close your eyes. You can just kind of look down at the floor if you don't want to close your eyes. Okay, let's take a deep breath and exhale. Okay, I want you to see a little kid, maybe your age, maybe they're younger, maybe they're older, maybe they can walk, maybe they haven't learned to walk yet. And I want you to imagine what they look like and where they go to school and what they like to play and how they like to jump up and down and wiggle and sing and laugh just like you. Okay, can you see that young person, that child? Maybe they like to skate. Maybe they like to play action figures. Maybe they like to play Barbies. Maybe they like to draw and color. I want you to imagine on Christmas morning when they didn't know if there were going to be presents. They wake up, they go down, and they see all these presents under their tree. What do you think in your mind's eye? What do you think they're going to say? How do you think they're going to feel? Okay, did you see a little kid? Maybe they looked like you. Maybe they looked like someone different. And did you see, were they happy when they saw those presents and when they opened them to see what was in them? So that's the energy that we put into these gifts when we bought them and when we wrapped them and we put them here. And Mr. Doug and some other folks are going to make sure that those gifts get to them. So I wonder if what we could do now is put our hands like this to the gifts. This is a way of sending the love and the energy and the blessing in our hearts. And I wonder if we might bless these gifts and we say, Dear God, bless these gifts with love and joy and happiness, that the children that open these gifts will know that they're loved and feel in their hearts the magic and the light of Christmas. Amen. All right. Thank you so much for helping bless the gifts. But I have a quick question. Is the fruit of the Spirit a banana? Are you sure? Are you sure? No, the fruit of the Spirit's not a banana. The fruit of the Spirit's not a banana. If you want to be a banana, you might as well hear it. You can't be a fruit of the Spirit because the fruit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Good job. Did you hear some of the candles in the fruits of the Spirit? Okay, you guys and girls are welcome to go off to Godly Play with your teacher, Miss Trish and Miss Kim, and our middle school friends are invited to go to Donuts and Devotions, except for Max, who's going to go lead us in the prayer now, right? Okay, see y'all later.
Holy God, whether it's through angels or music, friendships or sermons, study or nature, when you speak, we long to hear it. In a world as chaotic and broken as ours, we could use your words of hope and healing. With gratitude we pray. Amen.
Our gospel lesson this morning comes to us from the Gospel of Jesus according to Luke, chapter 1, verses 26 through 38. Hear these words. In the 6th month, the angel Gabriel was sent by God to a town in Galilee called Nazareth, to a virgin engaged to a man whose name was Joseph, of the house of David. The virgin name was Mary. And the angel came to her and said, Greetings, favored one, the Lord is with you. But she was much perplexed by his words and pondered what sort of greetings this might be. The angel said to her, Do not be afraid, Mary, for you have found favor with God, and now you will conceive in your womb and bear a son, and you will name him Jesus. He will be great and will be called the Son of the Most High. He will be great and will be to him the throne to his ancestor, David. He will reign over the house of Jacob forever, and of his kingdom there will be no end. Mary said to the angel, How can this be, since I am a virgin? The angel said to her, The Holy Spirit will come upon you, and the power of the born will be holy. He will be called the Son of God. And your relative Elizabeth, in her old age, has also conceived a son, and this is the 6th month of her who was said to be barren. For nothing will be impossible with God. Then Mary said, Here I am, the servant of the Lord. Let it be with me according to you, your word. Then the angel departed from her. May God illuminate our understanding of these ancient words. Amen.
Let's all just take a moment to be together in prayer. Spirit of the living God, fall afresh on each one of us. And may the words of my mouth and meditations of all our hearts together be pleasing and acceptable in your sight. For you are our rock, our strength, and our Redeemer. Amen. This past week, I was talking with a friend who is trying to get her life back together after a lot of transition. Part of what is coming to the surface for her is all of these messages that she either has been told or has told herself, messages that she is worthless, that she's no good, and that she's basically just a total mess up. And for so long, she's just been bearing that weight on her shoulders. And you can see that the weight is just crushing her. It's creating this deep fear inside of her that she will never be enough. She will never be good enough. And so I kept trying to find a new way to communicate to her that God loves her, that God cares about her, that she matters, that she has worth in this world. And the truth is, when I think back on it, I probably did a little bit too much explaining and not enough telling. I probably got all heady and explained to her who God is and what God is like and how God works. And therefore, God cares about you. But the whole time, you could feel that everything I said just kept hitting this brick wall that was inside of her and just fell to the ground. She wasn't receiving the message. All I wanted to do was find a way to get to the core of her and to bless her in the name of God. But it just wasn't working. And that got me thinking about all of you. Everyone sitting in this room and everyone who's online. I couldn't help but wonder, what is it that you need? What is it that works for you to hear or to feel like God's blessing is really upon you? When you are afraid, when you have those negative thoughts and that self-doubt that creeps in, what has the ability to cut to your core of who you are and bless you? To know that God cares about you and that you matter to this world, that you are important and that you do have something to contribute. I mention this because I kept thinking about the interaction between the angel Gabriel and Mary and how Gabriel has a way better way of offering pastoral care than I do. Gabriel is able to speak into Mary's heart. He was able to speak to her in a way that I wish I could have spoke to my friend. Which makes sense with Gabriel being an angel and all, but still it's not good for my ego. Did you notice what Gabriel's first words were to Mary? Gabriel shows up and says, "Greetings, favored one," which is shorthand for, "Hey, how's it going? Oh, and by the way, did you know you're awesome?" And then Gabriel adds, "The Lord is with you." So not only are you awesome, but God thinks you're awesome too and wants to hang out. Now, I'm not saying that we all can have such an angelic pastoral care presence as Gabriel. But wouldn't our world be a much better place if we all just started greeting each other that way? "Hey, favored one, God is with you." like a little blessing before a conversation even begins. That's the first thing that Gabriel does with Mary. He blesses her with those words. She doesn't earn it. She doesn't deserve it. We don't even know very much about Mary at this point in Luke's gospel. It's the first time that we have met her. She's likely a poor peasant girl of 14 or 15 years of age. She likely has very little going on for her, and yet the first thing that Gabriel does is bless her, which isn't typically how we understand blessing, is it? We don't usually think of blessing coming first. If you listen to some of our more evangelical Christian siblings, you'll usually hear that first comes your acceptance of Jesus as Lord and Savior, and then comes your blessing. First, you give your life over to God, and then God will bless you. Or often in our wider society, we'll say we've been blessed only when good things are happening. We'll say we've been blessed with a new car, a big home, a high-paying job, healthy grandchildren. But what are we really saying when we say that? That the guy in line to register for medical assistance or food stamps isn't blessed too? And that's where we get blessing wrong. That's not how blessing works in Luke's gospel. No, in our story for today, God just blesses Mary. And then actually gives her some really scary news. Hey, I know you and Joe aren't married yet, and I know it's kind of against the law for you to get pregnant before you're married, but you're gonna get pregnant. And it's going to be God's baby. I know, no one's going to believe that. I'm so sorry. That is not good news. In fact, that's the news that is more likely to get Mother Mary stoned than it is for her to be viewed as blessed by God. But that is what God does, right? God has this habit of blessing those who have a pretty high chance of never feeling like they are blessed at all. Poor peasant girls, sex workers, tax collectors, lepers, the sick, lowly fisher people, thieves beside him on a cross. It's just kind of like what God does. It's almost like God blesses people not because they've done such righteous stuff in life, but rather God blesses people so they can handle the hard stuff in life. So that people know that no matter what they do or leave undone, no matter what is done to them, they belong to God and to God alone. And then, after Gabriel blesses Mary, I can't get over her response. Did you catch it? After some totally appropriate skepticism, confusion, shock, in the end, her response is, "Here I am, the servant of the Lord. Let it be with me according to your word." I was thinking about those words and how passive they are. Let it be. Mary is saying, sure, yes, bring it on. Let it be. And those words, let it be, took me all the way back to my first year of seminary and my Hebrew Bible class when we were looking at the creation story. And most of us know the part of the story where it says, "And God said, let there be light, and there was light." But a more accurate translation of that text is, "And God said, let light be, and the light was." Let the light be. Let it be. Let it be. And it was. Which in fact is the same verb that Mary uses in Luke's gospel. Let it be with me. And so I can't help but think that something creational or recreational is happening here in the text. It's almost as if the simple act of the angel speaking the words of blessing and favor onto Mary is what creates her into a favored and blessed being. The words do what they say. By calling her blessed, she becomes blessed. And so can you believe that about yourself? Can you believe that word about yourself this morning? That you are favored and blessed by God simply because God says so. God chooses you as God's favored and blessed one. When God looks at you, God doesn't say no, or maybe I'll think about it. Or if he tries a little harder, maybe I'll consider that he's favored and blessed. No. When God looks at you, God gives a resounding yes. And just in case hearing that promise isn't enough, we get to see it and we get to feel it and we get to taste it when we come around the communion table like we will in a few moments. Communion is the visible version of God's yes to you. It's like a schoolyard game of kickball, and God and the devil are the captains, and God just says, I will just take them all. And the devil has no one left. And we get to witness that here at this table every time we come around it, that God chooses each and every one of you as favored and blessed. And you see, I think that was my mistake with my friend that I told you about earlier in my sermon. I spent way too much time explaining and not enough time simply telling. Instead of trying to explain to her how God loved her, I wish I would have just told her, God loves you. I wish I would have just been crystal clear about it, like Gabriel. Greetings, favored one. God is with you. By simply saying, it would have become true. So, what greater opportunity this morning to right now proclaim a blessing to each other with a word from God. And not only that, but to also practice being like Mary and saying yes to the blessing. So I'm going to invite everyone here who's in the room to partner up. Find a buddy. Find a buddy. It can be someone that you came with this morning, or it's someone you just don't know, but find a buddy. And if you're online this morning, pair up with the person sitting next to you on camera. And if you're by yourself, I want you to do this where you are. Find a buddy. Everyone have a buddy? Everyone have a buddy? All right. I want one person to place their hand on the other person's shoulder. Okay? And I want you to repeat after me, the person with their hand on the other person's shoulder. May you feel God's favor and blessing upon you. And in response, I want the other person to say, let it be. Okay, now switch. The person with their hand on the other person's shoulder, repeat after me. May you feel God's favor and blessing upon you this day. And in response, I want the other person to say, let it be. Good job. After that, I don't know about you, but I think all of us here are not only filled up with God's blessing right now, but I think just like Mary, we are all just a little bit more prepared to give birth to God in the world when we leave this place. Thanks be to God, and let it be. Amen. Friends, we come now before God with the joys and concerns that are on our hearts and minds. And so if you have a prayer card this morning with a joy or concern on it, please have it raised high for the ushers to collect. And if you are joining us online, please type your joy or concern in the chat feature. And after each petition is read, you're invited to respond with "Hear our prayer." Prayers from Sally Baca, prayers for extended family member Eugenia Ramirez, who is recovering from a stroke and faces other health problems. God, in your mercy. Prayers again from Sally, prayers for Chris. She fell this morning and is now at Kaiser ER. God, in your healing and mercy. Prayers from Janice and Randy Jang, grateful that my mother is recovering well from her mild stroke. Prayers that her eyes will align from the exercises prescribed for her. God, in your healing and mercy. Do we have any prayers from online this morning? To the red mic, Jim.
Yes, Melissa Tumanang asks that we pray for her friend Gladys, whose mother-in-law died in the Philippines.
God, in your mercy.
Norman Palmer has COVID, and we ask healing prayers for him.
God, in your mercy.
And I'm asking for prayers for May Wong, who fell and broke her neck.
God, in your mercy. Friends, let us continue now in a spirit of prayer. Holy God, we take a deep breath in. We breathe out and know that you are here. For where two or more are gathered, you are there. You never leave our sides. Like a protective mother hen or the sun who circles the earth, you carry us with you. So today we bow our heads in tender spirits and ask that once more you would lean in close. Hear our prayers. Buoy our hearts. Send your spirit rushing through us like a mighty wind. For these days, God, we have much to fear. We fear the return of a COVID variant that could cause, once again, chaos in our world. We fear the rising tide of violence. We fear global warming. Will our grandchildren have trees to climb? We look at our own lives and we are afraid that we aren't making much of a difference, that we might be forgotten at the end of the day. We fear rejection. We fear grief. We fear not being enough. Holy God, the muck of our lives is deep. At times, it feels like we're just swimming in it. And so we come to you today because you are a God who said, "Do not fear," 365 times in Scripture, once for every day. You are a God who has inserted yourself into the corners of our lives, refusing to let us go, refusing to leave us alone. You name us as favored and blessed, and so we rest in that. We empty our pockets of our fears and give them to you, trusting that you will hold them tenderly, just as you hold us. Whisper, "Favored and blessed one, be not afraid." You promise never to leave our side. May that be enough for today. And now, with hope in our hearts, we pray the words your Son taught us to pray, saying together, "Our loving God, who is in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For yours is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen." Just want to make a real quick announcement. So we neglected to include the last couple verses of the final hymn, and John has handouts that he's going to pass around during the time of giving. So when you see a piece of paper coming your way, please take it so you can sing along during the final hymn.
time of giving. From generation to generation, God has been at work within God's people. From generation to generation, the good news has changed lives and given us peace amidst our tradition and fear. Let us give our gifts now to God so that God's peace may steep into our chaotic world and continue to live on in generation to come. For those of you who have already made a gift by check or automated giving, we are grateful. If you would like to make a gift to support the work of this church or toward any of our special offerings, you may place it in the plate as it is passed. You may also give using our website at the text to give option. Instructions are in the bulletin. At this time, I invite the ushers to come forward to collect this morning's offering. God of peace, we give you thanks for your faithfulness that extends beyond this time and place. Bless these gifts that may have been given, and that they may help us bring peace in the midst of our chaotic and distressed world. Bless all of us here that we may embody your peace and be partners in peacemaking. Amen.
As we ponder all of these things in our hearts, we gather at God's table. In coming, we intentionally take our place in the story. We come not on our own or only as this congregation, but with the body of Christ throughout the world and throughout time. We bring all the skeletons in the closet and all of our deviations from what society tells us is normal. We come as real people, love for all our real or perceived faults. We come as those who are an essential part of God's story because there is room for everyone in the story.
God be with you.
And also with you.
Lift up your hearts.
We lift them up to God.
Let us give thanks to our God.
It is right to give God thanks and praise.
Let us pray. God, the Creator, in the same way you spoke all there is into existence. You wove a tapestry of a redemption plan. We trace the story from our walks with you in the garden to the moment we realized you heard our cries and our oppression, to manna in our wilderness wanderings, and into the gift of a land filled with promise. Present with us in times of both exile and blessing, we trust in your faithful love. Creator sets free, chosen one. You left the glory of heaven to walk in our humanity with us, teaching the truth, welcoming the outcast, eating with sinners, loving all. You made us part of your story. In your grace, you welcome us as siblings. Bathed in your love, you call us by your name. Spirit of the Creator, you are the bearer of righteousness, peace, and joy within us. When we wander away, you remind us that there is nowhere we can flee from your presence. When we create walls to keep others out, you remind us that there is a place for everyone in God's family tree. With your spirit of wisdom and truth, we are part of God's continuing story of redemption. Holy Spirit, rain down your love and grace upon us as we gather at your table, offering the cup and loaf. Bring us into full communion as the body of Christ. Make us one with our risen Lord as we celebrate this sacrament in his presence. Amen.
Amen. We remember that it was the night of the Passover Seder, when Jesus gathered around the table with some of his closest friends, the disciples. And it was at the table where Jesus took a simple loaf of bread, and after breaking it and giving thanks for it, he blessed it and gave it to everyone who was sitting there, saying, "This bread is the bread of new life. Whenever you eat this bread, remember me."
And as we remember this story, we remember that there was a cup of wine on the table. And at some point during the meal, Jesus took that cup filled with wine. Ours is filled with non-alcoholic grape juice. And he looked out at his friends, at the people he loved. And I like to think, looked out through time, looked out and saw us. And he said, "My friends, this cup is the cup of a new way of being in relationship to each other. This cup, when you drink it, remember my love for you.
We come to God's table as those invited. Our welcome depends not on how good we are or pretend to be. It depends not on whether we feel like we are worthy or no, we are definitely not. Because this table is a gift of great joy for all people. It is for all people that the chosen one's body was broken, that we might be made whole. It is for all people that the chosen one's blood was shed, that we might be made healed. And as often as we eat and drink this sign of God's grace, we proclaim the truth of the resurrection and the chosen one's return in glory. Beloved friends, you are loved. You are welcomed. Come and eat, for there's room for all. This morning, we'll be serving communion by intinction, which means you'll be invited to come up the center aisle to take a piece of bread and to dip it into the cup. If you're in need of a gluten-free option, there'll be a server at the very center up here with a plate and cup for you if you need a gluten-free option. If you are not able to come forward this morning, please just raise your hand and one of our communion servers will come over to your seat and serve you where you are seated. Friends, there are no barriers at Christ's table. All is ready. Please come. I invite the communion servers forward. All is ready. Please come. The bread of life broken for you. Eleanor, the bread of life broken for you. This is the bread of life. Yes, the bread of life broken for you. Sally, the bread of life broken for you. And the bread of life broken for you. Shy, the bread of life broken for you. Judy, the bread of life broken for you. Donna, the bread of life broken for you. Mary Kay, the bread of life broken for you. Allie, the bread of life broken for you. Sarah, the bread of life broken. Penny, the bread of life broken for you. And the bread of life broken for you. Betty, the bread of life broken for you. Carolyn, the bread of life broken for you. Carol, the bread of life broken. And it's the bread of life broken for you. And the bread of life broken for you. Eddie, the bread of life broken for you. Bill, the bread of life broken for you. And the bread of life broken for you. My God, the bread of life broken for you. And bread, the bread of life broken for you. The bread of life broken for you, Barb. Blessing. Like breathing.
Nourished at this table that represents life's bread. From generation to generation, we are nurtured at God's table. As we once again tell your story of forgiveness and love, we proclaim our adoption into God's family tree, kings, carpenters, foreigners, disregarded women, and second sons. May our lives testify that there is a place for everyone in your story of salvation. Amen.
Amen. As you leave this place, may you go knowing that from generation to generation, we have been claimed and loved. From generation to generation, God has been by your side. From generation to generation, we are not alone. The God of yesterday and the God of tomorrow knows you by name, loves you, and calls you forth, saying, "Go, be the person you are called to be. Love wildly, do justice, and come back soon." Thanks be to God. Amen.